Here are your hosts, Derick G and AJ.
Alexa Grasso successfully moves on past the semifinals and into a potential title eliminator against Katlyn Chookagian and or Manon Fiorot. Let's talk about it, folks. We had a big night of fights, UFC Vegas 62, but a lot of people could probably look at it as the preliminary, event to UFC 280. This is the big show. This is what we're all going to be talking about. People's attentions have already shifted, but I think it's fair to say that we need to talk about the implications of what happened Saturday night, because it's going to have some major divisional impacts. Now, joining me, as always, my co-host, the New Mexico native, the Santa Fe bomber himself, AJ. Brother, Alexa Grasso looked phenomenal against Viviane Araujo. The question becomes here, man, is if she can do that type of takedown defense performance, if she can really keep her at bay and dominate, I mean, who else can she do it against, brother? Are we talking top 2, 3, 4 in the world? Like, has Alexa Grasso supplanted that, part of the division? What are we talking about?
You said it, Derek. Title contender eliminator matches are on the way for Alexa Grasso, man. And if she can stay as technical, as fluid, and as crisp as she was, man, the sky is the limit for Grasso, man. She looked very impressive out there Saturday night.
I absolutely agree. And of course, we're going to break it down all in just 1 second, folks. Welcome back to another episode of the Bloody Water Podcast. As always, right? This is your favorite fighter's favorite fight show, baby. Let's get it. I do want to give you guys a quick reminder. If you have not subscribed yet, you should do it. You should do that. You should subscribe for sure, right? And stick around until the end of the show, because we're going to have some good stuff for you. But AJ, man, I don't want to mince any words, brother. Let's get straight into some prop recap, some betting recap, and jump into the main event recap. Let's get it, brother. So straight off of the top, my man, we're just going to talk about this money line. And what we're looking at is we are looking at 5 different fights, right? I do want to give a quick heads up, a quick little disclaimer. Obviously, Raphael Assuncao canceled before, fight night actually took place. So what do? We took the Victor Henry versus Raphael Assuncao fight that was on the prelims that we were already talking about. And we just added that pick that got added to the main card. So that, I just want to give you that clarity, folks. All right, man. 4-1 for me on the weekend, 3-2 for you, my man. And I'm going to be completely frank with you here, AJ, man. When I saw Jordan Wright start to wrestle Dusko Todorovic in that first round, I was like, interesting game plan, because I kind of saw how the fight was going to end up. But I was like, this could be that one deciding factor. My man, he just looked into the future. However, we'll talk about that in a second, brother. All right, my man. I went on the money line, 4-1, 3-2 for you. I got the job done on the prop bets, 3-1 for me, 2-2 for you. We'll talk about that in a second, but you did get the over and under, 3-1 for you, 2-2 for me. Notable losses across the board for us. Victor Henry did not get the job done against the 40-year-old Raphael Assuncao, and then once again, Dusko Todorovic got the win over Jordan Wright. The big thing that I want to point out before we talk about the prop bets right here, folks, is that if you look at it, right, I went 4-1, you went 3-2, AJ. These are not bad scores whatsoever. We're both over 500. My lead has increased, as you saw on the intro, right? 121-69 to 119-71. Only 2 picks are the difference between my score and your score, brother. There is a lot of action to come and a lot of things that are going to be decided. Now, let's talk to these props here, AJ. All right. Grasso, minus 125. We said, too chalky, don't take it. Are we eating our words on that one?
Too chalky, we don't take. Not really. I guess we saw it coming,
Yeah. We called it. That's the reason why we picked Grasso points. It just did feel like Araujo. I don't even want to talk about it too much right now because we're about to talk about it in a second, but there were some missed opportunities. I'll just say that, right? Martinez points. Now, we definitely missed out on this one, brother. Who would have thought that a TKO would have came? A lot of people, especially because Cub dropped weight. Who would have thought a leg kick TKO would come? I don't think anybody, brother. So I don't think that we have much to talk about on that one. I hit on the Todorovic TKO, and you're right there, man. Wright could have had the TKO too, but then the Menifield TKO, that one was taking money from a baby, right? That was almost the easiest one that you could have called right there. I thought Cirkunov could have done a couple things. Once again, missed opportunities, but then again, you just get hit by one of those shots by Menifield, and it's tough sledding right there. That's your prop recap, folks. Like I said, one of the key facets of this program is what, AJ? We like to hold ourselves accountable. Talk about it real fast.
Exactly, Derek. Holding ourselves. Actually letting y'all know one of the big things, the slide Derek was putting up before, where we're actually showing you down the prop bets, the money line, the everything going on to that. That's one of the big things we like to keep it right here. Yeah, this slide we have going on right now, where we're actually showing y'all. We're not just saying, hey, we putting all these bets out here. We're saying all these things. We're showing y'all the proof. The proof's in the pudding right there. We're actually making y'all some money. And whether you're choosing the 4-1 or Derek bets, or even the 3-2, where sure, not I didn't have the winning grueling week, but a 3-2 odds on a 5-fight pick night, man, is great odds or great results for the entire weekend. And not a lot of people are doing it out there like that, as well as not a lot of people are willing to own up to the good and the bad of what they're doing. And that's why we're doing it out here for you, Derick. And I really like that we have that in the episode for that, to keep that little bit of accountability going.
Absolutely, man. And I'll tell you why people don't hold themselves accountable is because they're not very good at making picks. Yeah, I mean, listen, man, if we was losing every week, I probably wouldn't want to show my picks anyway. So you already know where to find the best picks, folks. Bloody Water Podcast, you dig. Without any further ado, once again, if you have not subscribed, you absolutely should. Let's talk about these main card fights, brother. Let's get it.
Have you seen that replay, buddy? Your head was bouncing around like a pinball machine.
Time for some main card breakdown, courtesy of your hosts, Derick G and AJ. All right, my man. The over 4.5 rounds hit. The decision hit. Alexa Grasso more or less put a clinic out on Viviane Araujo. But the most impressive thing, in my opinion at least, was the takedown defense, man. Araujo shot, and she shot, and she shot. And when she realized 10 shots later that she really wasn't having the success that she was looking for, I think we sensed a little bit of panic, right? But then again, here's the big talking point, AJ. At the end of the day, your corner tells you, yeah, you're up 2 rounds or you're up 3 rounds definitively in a very close back and forth fight, which is what it was early on in the fight. Do you agree with that methodology? Would you tell your fighter that in a situation like that, given that the rounds were so close?
Depends on the fighter. Me, I wouldn't want to hear that myself, just because I don't want to take the gas or the foot off the gas pedal and kind of start to really lose those rounds, and you leave it up to the judges, and who knows what goes on that pace. But you also don't want to discourage your fighter and say like, hey, you're losing, or like, you know, like you want to keep the mind safe. So I think it all goes down to what the fighter thinks of. If you tell them they're winning and that's a motivational boost and you're going to keep with it, then yeah, you tell them they're losing and that's going to kind of fire them up, then I think you tell them it's all on the fighter. Personally, I wouldn't want to hear it. I wouldn't want to leave it to the judges at all. I'm always going in head first, knockout first, submission first, that kind of finish oriented. What about you? Do you want to hear that when you're in the fight?
Personally, no. I don't want to hear that. I wouldn't give that advice. In my head, or in the person that I'd be coaching, their head is you're always a round down. You need to finish, right? At least a round down. Let's go with the urgency. Let's go with some aggressiveness. Araujo was cracking, and she was landing on Grasso, man. The strike differential wasn't too bad. It was 193 for Grasso, 148 for Araujo. That just shows you the Muay Thai style, that pressure style of Araujo was working. But Grasso, I think she really banked in this fight off of counter-striking, man. And that's kind of what really led the dance, right? So my question is a bigger picture right here. Alexa Grasso looked so phenomenal. We knew her striking was amazing, right? In a tiny cage in the apex where you have somebody whose best shot at beating you is grappling you, holding you down, and then basically passing your guard and, you know, doing X, Y, and Z, which she did very effectively. She passed Alexa Grasso's guard like butter, but then wasn't able to really finish anything with it, right? So it was a little disappointing on that end. My question is, look at the top couple fighters, right? Chikagian, you got, Fiorot's not really a top fighter, but if I look at it, if I actually pull it up, because I have it right now, you have Lauren Murphy, Jessica Andrade, Tyler Santos, Caitlin Chikagian. My question, before we do, ranking reviews and all that stuff, is this style that you saw on par with Alexa Grasso, will it work against those top 3 fighters?
I think so, especially once you start talking about the Alexa or the Lauren Murphys and kind of going into that, the Chikagians. If she can, especially the striking against Chikagian, if Grasso is able to keep everyone at bay and play her game, she has a very technical game in which she's always choosing to go with, and it's very frustrating to other technical fighters as well. I think she's going to run into a little bit more problems in the top 2 and 3, but like I said, with that Lauren Murphy pick, it depends on how Lauren Murphy shows up to fight, because she's either up or she's down, and it's going to make seeing how technical and consistent Grasso can be, that's what makes the fight interesting to me.
Yeah, no, that's a fair point. That's definitely a fair point. I think Alexa Grasso can have a lot of success against these fighters. I do think against the takedown, the real takedown oriented, not talking about I'll shoot a takedown if it's convenient, but that's my only path to victory, the Lauren Murphys of the world against an Alexa Grasso, the bigger, stronger fighters. I think she might be able to give her some issues, man. It was the passing of the guard that was a little troublesome for me, because Araujo, man, I mean, that's the big question, man. I'm going to tell you my big takeaway, that you tell me your big takeaway, and then we can move on from this matchup, man. My biggest takeaway wasn't how amazing Alexa Grasso was, even though she was fantastic. It was that Viviane Araujo, I feel like, in a way, didn't push the gas the way that she should have in the grappling. out of fear that come rounds 3, 4, and 5, I might not be able to push, because she went real desperate for takedowns in those last 2 rounds, but those weren't takedowns. Those were, I'm just going to try a little, oh, okay, it didn't work. All right, we'll keep it pushing, right? It wasn't blast double Jailton Almeida style, you know? So that was really disappointing. And I think if this fight replayed 10 times, it might be a little closer, you know what I mean? Maybe 5, 6 out of 10 times. That's just me personally. What is your biggest takeaway from this matchup, AJ?
I could see it. I could see what you're saying, Derek. And my biggest takeaway, and it's actually for both fighters, was how the mental game of female MMA, works a lot different than most other, not just sports, but also men's MMA in general, where you were talking about it before. Once we saw the shots of Viviane Araujo really start to not have progress, really start to not make way, and kind of look like they were just feints more than anything, basically just getting in there, kind of flaunting around with it. Then the panic started to kind of set in, maybe not even panic, but worry of plan of attack kind of starts to really set in. You see Viviane Araujo almost have that, the eyes wide kind of look like, oh shit, what's going on? As well as the mental game of Alexa Grasso, staying focused, staying determined, and staying with it. Those two things were such a crazy juxtaposition to watch. That's what I took away from this, is how the mental game of MMA can be fought and won in just those little split seconds of battle.
I mean, it's literally all about that. It's about you get that takedown, and Grasso just does just enough to get back up to her feet, create the scramble. It's demoralizing, man. You use so much energy, and that's what this was about. I titled literally the preview show, Patience versus Relentlessness. Araujo's relentless, Grasso's patient, though, and she got the job done, man. I'm excited to see what she's going to be able to do against potentially the winner of Furo and Chikagian, but, I mean, honestly, man, Alexa Grasso, I like her style because she says, I want another main event before. Even if I do get handpicked to fight Valentina, I want another main event before, and I think that's fair, and I think that's admirable, but I also think that this is the making of a big monster Mexican star who has not the flair that she might need to really win over the crowd, but very much the Rose Namajunas-esque style that is like kind and loving and dependable and all that stuff, right? Except without the I'm the best type stuff. I think Grasso is really coming into her own right here. This was an amazing main event right here. You got anything else for me, my man? You want to move on to the next one?
Nah, we can move on. I really do like what you're saying, though, because I agree with you. Alexa Grasso has the same vibe, but without the showboatsmanship, I guess is a good word to say.
She don't got the thug in her the same way. It's a different level. It's a different level of thug, but you dig what time it is. All right, my man, and I hate that the main event kind of got overshadowed, but it did, bro, because this co-main event, bro, Jonathan Martinez, what did I say? I spent the whole entire time harping in the pre-show, like, don't undervalue Cub Swanson here. He has all the tools to be able to get the job done. But what did Jonathan Martinez do to mitigate all of that stuff? AJ, in your words, what did he do to mitigate the full-on MMA approach of Cub Swanson in this fight?
Man, blast out the foundation.
That's right.
That's what he did. Absolutely destroy the foundation and all the power Cub Swanson and all the technique he possibly could have had. Took the foundation right out from under him.
And you know what? I actually think it's fair to say that he took a page out of Giga Chikadze's book, because Giga, how did he have the success, right? Let me blast the body, boom, 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 boom. Okay, awesome. Well, Jonathan Martinez took a different approach. We know his left leg is already just dynamite right there, right? And you know he can crack you in all different varieties. So what does he do? He literally plays the game. I'm going to kick you inside calf kick, right? Kind of more towards the knee to be fair, right? And then I'm going to blast body kicks, and then I'm going to go back up to the head. And I'm just going to go between those three, back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. But what was more impressive than any of that, AJ, is that Cub Swanson, the entire fight was trying to get into boxing range, and Martinez kept it at kicking range where he was the most dangerous. That right there showed me that Jonathan Martinez, even though this was the biggest fight to date, man, this dude's ready to fight some killers. To be able to do that to Killer Cub Swanson, brother, that is absolutely no joke. And I actually have a fun little stat, man. Jonathan Martinez, he joined Giga Chikadze and Jose Aldo literally as the only fighters in Cub's 40-ish fight history to finish him via TKO. That is pretty damn impressive. How impressed are you with Jonathan Martinez's surgence thus far? And being that I think this is like, he's not a notable finish guy, right? To actually land this finish right here and to look like a monster, I mean, great things coming, right?
on a name like Cub Swanson and on a person where everybody was saying the weight cut was gonna make his chin a little glass. Bro, he didn't need a glass chin, man. He showed that he could just demolish somebody's leg and body, and the entire time with the tools that I'm presented. Jonathan Martinez is an absolute savage for that fight, man. And you could just hear the thud, the whap that was coming around off the Martinez left leg, man. It was crazy to see. Big win, and this is going to speak volumes too, man. It's sad that it had to happen on an OG like Cub Swanson, but this is going to speak volumes to the legacy or the fight career of Jonathan Martinez, man. Very impressed. The Dragon showed up, bro. That was crazy, and just I don't remember exactly how many leg kicks he landed. It says 7 right now on ESPN. But I think it was from the very first one that we heard land, that inside left leg kick. I think it took 3 to put down Cub Swanson, man. I'm surprised it even took 3 because if it had been any normal person, that would have been 1 leg kick and you're done. But Cub Swanson, he believed 3 of those bad boys, and it was, man, rough, but a good fight for both of them. What do you think?
Yeah, absolutely, brother. No, I absolutely agree with you. That's kind of the thing, man. When I was thinking about it right there, I felt like it really was. I know, like, the numbers, right? There's a guy, like they were saying on the commentary, there's somebody at home pressing buttons on a computer, and that's what dictates, like, the punch numbers and the strike numbers. I think it really was only, like, 3 good ones, bro, that, like, destroyed the leg. And that was the thing that you were noticing, man, because he was blasting that body. You hear it slapping off, right? And honestly, sometimes you don't want that slap. You want the thud. You want the thuds, because that's when you know it's sinking deep. But when he hit you in on that inside knee right there, yeah, I mean, tough sledding, man. It was a quick fight. Jonathan Martinez looked sharp, man. He looked amazing. He was able to counter effectively. All of the things that I said Cub Swanson was going to need to do to really be effective, he kind of did, but he couldn't get past the kick range, and that was the downfall, man. Shout out to Jonathan Martinez, bro. That was a fantastic performance. Very one-sided, but, I mean, who do you think, real quick, who do you think he gets matched up next with, man? He called out Dominic Cruz in the post-fight, but, like, who do you think he gets matched up next with?
He called out Dominic Cruz, and Dom gave him the most respectful, you're never going to fight me, kid, ever in the entire world. Who is Jonathan Martinez going to fight next, man, in the bantamweight division?
It's tough because he's not a ranked guy, right? You know, and who's to say Cub Swanson win is not going to get you a ranked guy, but it could get you a 15 to 25, you know what I mean? And I don't have the fighters up right now, but just off the top of my head, I mean, even I could see him fighting this top 15 guy, Jack Shore. He's at the end of the list, right? You know what I mean? Jack Shore is a stud. He has the grappling to kind of mix up that whole entire matchup style. And Jonathan Martinez, he was able to get out the takedown of Cub Swanson once. So, you know what I mean? Let's see what he can do against Jack Shore.
Yeah, that's where I was kind of thinking, that Jack Shore, that Adrian Yanez, that kind of area. I think a very fun fight, a very, very fun fight. Kyler Phillips.
That'd be fun.
Kyler Phillips, Jonathan Martinez. I don't know if they've already fought.
No,
they haven't.
So.
That's a very fun fight. And then I don't think they'll give him those. And even the Jack Shore, Adrian Yanez, all these dudes are on the come up. So I think they're going to throw him somewhere, along the lines of like a Heoni Barcelos or like something like that. So where they're trying to refresh the catalog, if you will.
Yeah, we'll see what happens, man. Just know big things are on the horizon for the Dragon, Jonathan Martinez. Last question, and I hate to drag this on so much, man, but Cub Swanson, he joins the list of veteran fighters who decided to somehow, some way, at like 38 years old, drop down a weight class and are not successful. They're unsuccessful in that. Does he stick around at bantamweight, or do you think that he goes back up to featherweight? Like, do you think he gives it another go? Just a yes or no?
I think he sticks around. I think he sticks around in the 135. It wasn't an issue of conditioning or chin or weight cut or anything like that caused this fight. I think you just got kicked in the knee, bro.
Yeah. We'll see. I don't even have an answer on that. We'll see. But let's talk about this next one, brother. Because this was a barn burner. This was back and forth. And this was a fight where this is the one where you invite your buddy over, right? You say, hey, man, come watch the fights. This is going to be an instant knockout first round. And then they just end up wrestling the whole entire round, right? And then you look like the biggest idiot, right, in front of your guy, promising blood and gore and action and violence. And did we see any of that? Yeah, it just took the second round. You know what I mean? For Dusko, he was all like, we're gonna strategically go about this first round. Second round, that'll be my first round. All right, here we go. So, brother, how else do you talk about this? But you say 2 guys, massive power, both of them chinny to a degree, right? They have knockout history where they've been getting knocked out a lot recently. So it's almost kind of fair to say, let me just come out and shoot and then see what happens. Now, I want literally in your mind, the moment you saw it, Jordan Wright gets the takedown on Dusko and starts to have success. What's running through your mind?
Man, especially in that first round, I was excited. I thought this was a whole new game plan for Jordan Wright. We're going to see something where this dude's literally carving up his own skills, making, because we all know Jordan Wright, that karate fighter. He's good on the feet. He, like you said, a little chinny, but can still knock people out. But now this dude has a wrestling game too. He's a ground and pound. He's giving, let's see if he can get the finish on Dusko. I was so hyped to not start round one, but for the entirety of round one. Very, very excited until the bell rang to the start of round two.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And for me, in my head, the things that we're going through was, well, this dude has trained at Jackson Wings forever. So, like, it kind of makes sense, right? Yeah, you got some wrestling, you're able to do it. Number two thing that ran through my head is that you look at Jordan Wright, and he just, like, physically, frame-wise, he looks like such a larger fighter than Dusko. Everything in my head was, how often are you actually wrestling in a competition setting? And the reason why is because if you're not constantly training those muscles to wrestle, oh, baby, come round two, you don't use those muscles a lot, you're going to be tired. And what happened in round two? Dusko came out hot. And this was my whole point. There was never meaning any disrespect for Jordan Wright. I just felt that Dusko is more seasoned as a well-rounded MMA fighter. Jordan Wright spends most of his time striking. In competition setting, right? So it wasn't that Jordan Wright can't submit Dusko, because Jordan Wright does have submissions. It wasn't that he couldn't wrestle him, because he can wrestle. But can you do it for 3 rounds? You know what I mean? At the top elite level. And Dusko, you could tell both men were exhausted, but Dusko had a little something. Now, here's the question. These situations where we keep, and this is a tale as old as time, man. We've talked about it many, many times, where people are talking about, okay, you get on top of somebody and you just punch and you punch and punch, and the referee's going to pull him off of you. Well, AJ, what happens when the referee doesn't pull you off of them, right? Obviously, that could lead to a situation where you gas yourself out and you don't got anything left. And that happened in one of these fights here. It could have been this fight. I don't remember which one of the fights was, but it happened a couple times, right? And I was just like, damn, man, like these situations where they should be pulling you off. Herb Dean specifically, he wants to give you the Mario Yamasaki leash, right? So what do you make of that?
Yeah, I mean, it's like you said, Derek. It's a tale as old as time, man. This is was it Snow White, Cinderella, whatever the saying for that movie is. It is very it's horrifying. I mean, that's the worst thing you thinking, because like you said, if you haven't been wrestling or haven't been putting these muscles into motion for a duration of time, for a long duration of time, it's the heaviest foot on the gas pedal is when you're wrestling, or when the adrenaline's pumping and you're just throwing any shots you can to get the ref to step in. What doesn't happen when the ref doesn't step in, man, is pure panic. That's what happens. It's pure panic, pure, oh shit, this is going down. I'm breathing. I can't even breathe and I need to breathe. Oh fuck, here we go. That's it's scary. And the bad part about it is you hit the nail on the head. You said the longer this fight goes, the more Jordan Wright's chances of winning start to dwindle. And we saw it right there in plain as day action, man. Jordan Wright really started, that gas tank that you said, started really hitting down.
Yeah, man, and that's kind of the whole thing. And it was this fight. Now, like, I'm playing the loop back in my head. Yeah, because Jordan Wright was beating up on Dusko that first round on top of him, and the referee didn't pull him off. Second round, same situation, where literally to a certain point, I was like, I think both dudes might lose this fight just out of pure exhaustion. You know what I mean? Like, they might just not get up, right? So, listen, this was a fantastic back and forth effort. I'm not going to say by any stretch of the imagination Dusko was just like dominating the fight, because he wasn't. But come that second round, clearly that camp had a game plan, and they knew how to exploit Jordan Wright if he was going to come out grappling intensive. And he did. And that's the thing. Jordan Wright's not a bad fighter whatsoever. This dude is so skilled. He just needs to put it together. You know what I mean? And I think he'll get that opportunity. Was Dusko the guy to do it against? I mean, that's a little tough sledding right there, brother. But you tell me, man. Dusko Todorovic gets the TKO win. I know we said he's a pillow puncher, but accumulation of pillow punching can lead to finishing somebody, and he got the job done. Do you expect more finishes for Dusko in the future?
Oh yeah. Especially until he starts getting in that top 5, top 10 range, then I think we're going to see a lot of KOs coming from the Dusko Todorovic camp.
Okay.
The dude has power. I mean, yeah, pillow punches, but pillows still hurt. And we make jokes of it as saying pillow punch, but dude, it can crack, and he has a lot of knockouts on his history. So
yeah, absolutely, man. But this was, like I said, this was knockout versus knockout. Like, somebody had to go to sleep. The only thing that made me sad is that it went over 1.5 rounds, barely, just by like a couple of minutes. But that was the only thing. Everything else, we had this one basically locked down. But all right, brother, great win. Now, it's like you go from the miraculous thing that overshadowed everything to the barn burner to the, y'all must have forgot Raphael Assuncao edition, brother. And we forgot too, man. We both picked for Victor Henry. And who wouldn't? If you're a 40-year-old Raphael Assuncao, you haven't won in 5 years. You're fighting this young gun in Victor Henry. But who knew? And folks, if you see there's no odds here, it's because this was like a last-second replacement, so I didn't have the opening odds and all that stuff. Right. But who knew that Raphael Assuncao would take the same exact game plan that lost him like 4 fights in a row and then use it to beat Victor Henry? I guess who is the blame to be put on? AJ, is it Victor Henry saying that you should have studied a little bit better to understand like what he does and how to effectively like kind of dismantle that? Is it the narrative? Because oftentimes people are saying what's given Assuncao issues is that he isn't able to handle these young athletic like specimens. Victor Henry isn't really a young gun, 35-year-old. He's a beast, right? But he's not like an uber athletic guy. Who's the onus to be put on, the blame?
Man, I say Victor Henry and the Henry camp. I mean, you said it yourself, Assuncao has done the exact same thing basically his entire fight career. And if you go into a fight not knowing what a guy does and you take your age or your skill set, your prowess as being, kind of like a crutch of sorts where you're not even worried about the other guy because you're so much better than him, that's your fault. That's what comes in and happens, man. Especially a lot of the blame goes to the coaches and the camp and the fighter as well. Because if you're going in there unprepared, man, there's no one else to blame but you. And we've seen Assuncao for how many years now? This dude prove that he is one of the greatest, or not one of the greatest, but one of the top elite fighters to do it in whatever division or whatever company he's in since 2004. Like, this dude's been doing it for years and years and years. And if you don't go in prepared, ready to know that, I blame the camp and the fighter, man. What about you?
Yeah. I mean, this was Assuncao's 18th Octagon appearance, right? So dude's been doing it for a long time. This is the thing, man. The last 4 losses for Assuncao have been to very high-level competitors. Ricky Simone, Cody Garbrandt, Corey Sandhagen, Marlon Moraes, right? Victor Henry, his name doesn't fall into that category. It's simply just in name value, but also in, like, skill set, right? He's not as skilled as those guys, but he's very skilled. That is not to say that he is not skilled. He's not as skilled as those guys. You look at Victor Henry, man. I was just a little confused by the game plan because the whole entire thing is stay in front of Assuncao, but just far enough to where you're able to avoid the counters and still inflict damage. Henry was I'm just going to bombard barrier into you, just like nonstop go into you. And Assuncao rocked him a couple times with the big power, which we already knew he had the power advantage. But more importantly than that, he was able to use Victor Henry's forward motion, grab onto a single, not finish it, but then convert it to offense and then just start laying punches on him every single time. And then it was even wasn't it at the end of the fight where Assuncao locked up the single leg and just held onto it just for like 45 seconds, man, and just finished out the fight that way? Either Assuncao is just majorly strong and we don't give him enough credit, or it was just a lack of a game plan here. I give nothing but kudos to Assuncao, but this is the big talking point. It's not even the win. It's that you win, finally, you get the monkey off your back. Fuck, I got the win. Yes, I knew I was good. I knew I was. All right, here, I get the win. It might be time to call it up, though, right? So when you say that in your post-fight presser, you know that this has probably been on his mind since the first, second, third, fourth loss. To get the win, and now you call it quits. Or you're not calling it quits, but you start to think that way. Do you think that this is the time? Exit while you have the opportunity? Or do you say, well, I have the second most wins in UFC's bantamweight history. Let me give it another shot. What do you think?
Man, the ego, the id, the fighter, that I say you go for it. But at the same point, retire on top, man. And how many times are you gonna be like, well, I'm right there. I know 2 more wins till I get the tie or till I get the record. Man, how many times are you gonna try to do that? How many times are you gonna keep saying that year after year after year? I say you retire on top, especially in a game like this, in the fight game. You retire on top, you get your win, you leave, you end with grace, you don't go out on your shield as much as and as respectful and as admirable and as admiring or as much as we admire a fighter who does go out on their shield. I know a lot of wives and a lot of families and a lot of kids don't want to see that happen. So it's best for Assuncao, if that's what you're thinking, retire at top, right? Retire when you still have your mental cognition there.
That's just my point. It's just the whole, once you start thinking it, right, that bleeds into your life. That bleeds into how you train. It's similar to the saying of it's hard to go and do road work at 6 a.m. when you're sleeping in silk sheets. You know what I mean? Like, it's a little tough, right? And I'm not saying this is the same thing. Assuncao is a proven competitor. It's just, come on, man. 40 years old. That's all I'm saying. All right, brother. I mean, that was massive. And I mean, to a degree, I was just like, this is the storyline of the night almost, right? But, all right, now this one, we got 30 seconds to talk about it, right? There wasn't really much that happened. Missed opportunities, brother, missed opportunities. Alonzo, Atomic, Menifield did what he does best, right? And, I mean, I guess there is a little bit of a storyline. Normally, you got the Fortis camp in your corner. You got Saif Saud, the general, in your corner. But you opted to have Pat Barry. Hyper die, you know what I'm saying? You wanted a little bit of that Nama Yunus rub, right? I'm not saying it's like that, right? But you wanted a little bit of that, because Nama Yunus, she's at Elevation, right? Elevation fight team. I don't really know what the politics behind it was, but something that Pat Barry did brought an animal out of Menifield, right? Brought that, because if he could do that to everybody, you're not stopping Alonzo Menifield. My question to you is that, did you see the same thing that I saw when this fight opened up, right? This is what I saw. I see Menifield, wild as always, throwing big, massive shots. Not anything really controlled, but big shots, really trying to land on him, right? And Cirkunov, so tight, not reacting the way that, and dude, I'm not even blaming him, man. I wouldn't want to be in there with a dude throwing fucking ham hocks at my head either. But when I saw those big looping motions, I said, this is your opportunity, Misha. Level change, boom, takedown, and then commit. But there was a lack of commitment, which I also totally understand, that led to, okay, I can't take shots against this guy because I don't want to end up on bottom getting my face smashed in. What's worse, I back away from him in a weird flurry, and then I get caught with a hook, and then I get caught with two more coming down, and then you know what? I'm going to get the third one on top just because Menifield's feeling pissed off that day, right? So you get knocked out either way because he didn't commit. My question to you is, do you think Cirkunov could have had a lot more success if he was able to just secure the takedown?
Yes. 100%. If he could have just ducked under those hooks, gone to the hips, whether it's a single leg or a double, whatever the case you want to be, that's your choosing at that hour. But when those big haymakers are coming down the pipe, man, there's only one way to get under it, or to get out of the way, and it's get under those and get to those hips. I think that would have been, especially if Cirkunov could have actually had that moment of that, then I think that would have mitigated a lot of the fear, a lot of the cautiousness that he was preventing, a lot of that like jittery, weird tension. If he was able to actually have just a little bit of success, it takes away the beast that is Alonzo Menifield. Because like you said, Derek, I wouldn't want to sit in there. I would also be jittery as hell, not a smooth game plan, fighting a savage like Alonzo Menifield. So it makes 100% sense. But I think if Cirkunov would have had just that little bit of win, that little bit of momentum, we would be talking about a whole different fight here.
Absolutely, man. And easier said than done. I'm the guy just here in front of a camera talking about it, right? Easier said than done. I totally understand that. But this does mark Misha Cirkunov. He's 2-8 in his last 10, brother. You know what I mean? This is you get knocked out in your most recent return back up to light heavyweight, where you're like, I want to have all my power and my chin on me and all that. And then Alonzo Menifield's knocking anybody out, right? So that's not even really a question. But that's it, man. That's it. This was one of those where you feel for Misha Cirkunov because you know how good this dude is, and you know that like he has the talent to put it together. He was the supreme grappler. I just think Alonzo Menifield was the supreme athlete in this matchup. So that was a nasty knockout, bro. Do you blame Menifield for a knockout, or is that just part of the game? I'm talking about the delivery shots at the end. The ones where you're like, this dude's been knocked out, and you're just, it's Herb Dean's fault, right? Like, shout out Derek Lewis. Like,
yeah, that's the game. Yeah, that's the game we play, bro.
Fair. All right, brother. Now let's talk about a couple of these prelim matchups, man, because there's some big stories that I want to touch on real quick, but we'll kind of, zoom past it real fast. But before we do that, folks, another friendly reminder here. Listen, at the Bloody Water Podcast, this is very much a two-man operation, man. This is a grassroots program, so the thing that we ask you to do is, first off, subscribe. Second, share the show with your friends. And third, head over to the Bloody Water Podcast, where it is the home, the hub, and you can literally find every resource for our platform, for our show. But before any of that, if you want to help us grow, literally, that button right there, that subscribe one, just click it real fast, you know what I mean? And then share with your friend, and then tell them to click it, and boom, just like that. And then you get Supreme Lib bouts. So let's get it, brother. All right, my man. The big story that I want to talk about is Nick Maximov, right? Who's getting all this hype and all this love because of, listen, you're a part of the Diaz camp, and you get a little bit of their rub. You get some extra credit and fame that maybe you shouldn't get because you haven't really proven yourself yet. But either way, listen, you're there. You're fighting a legitimate dude, man. Jacob Malkoun, another dude who gets a lot of credit because of his training partner, Robert Whitaker, right? However, there's a lot of ups and downs in the result of this matchup. One, Nick Maximov, coming off of the first loss of his career, injures his knee immediately in the first round, right off of a wrestling exchange. And then Jacob Malkoun basically just capitalizes, but you could clearly see the grimacing. You could see all of that. You could see dude looked like he was about to start like crying in there. And that's how you could tell when you're a supreme athlete, something is not right with you, but you have too much pride to let the coach stop it, or maybe the coaches didn't want to stop it. I don't know. But my question is that, man, if you're Maximov's corner, do you send him back for round 2 when he's clearly compromised and he looks like an immediate shell of himself? Like he doesn't even look like the same fighter. Do you even send him out for the round 2? Or do you say, this is the fight game, brother? You got to go and, you know what I mean? Take your licks. You signed the contract, brother. Now it's time to deliver.
Yeah, I mean, this is another one where this all comes down to you as a coach knowing your fighter, because there's a lot of people who find an easy way out, and those are the ones you send back in and time to get the licks. But if listen, and I don't remember if it was between round 2 or round 3, the coach told him, bro, like he said, he's like, you keep grimacing or you don't go in there and fight, I'll throw in the towel.
What he said was, if you pull guard, if you go straight to your butt, then I'm calling it. Yeah, because you're a wrestler and you're pulling guard over here. Come on, brother. But yeah, no, you're right.
Well, it's to that same point of like, yo, you're going in, you're a wrestler, you're going to pull guard. You're telling us that you're quitting. I'll just throw in the towel, bro. Mm-hmm. And I think it was more of a motivating thing that was being said to Nick Maximov, because it's like, we know you don't want to quit. Why are you acting like this, bro? Come on. So I think it was a good call. Would I have sent him out for the third? No, probably not. But it would have been a conversation of, bro, like you're not fighting like you are. You're not being the savage. You want to be part of the Nick Diaz army. You're over here wincing when you get kicked. Come on, bro.
Yeah. I don't even look at it like that, man. The way that I look at it is that as an athlete, it's your job to compete, right? You have to go out there whether you're injured or not. That's kind of the name of the game. But as referees and doctors and medical people out there, you're also supposed to look out for the safety of the fighter who is too stubborn and too hard-headed to look out for their own health, right? So in that situation, I almost feel like they shouldn't have let him compete. Then again, we have instances of John Jones with a broken toe, you know what I mean, over there getting finishes. You got dudes who are like, you got fighters, literally, they're like, I tore my ACL and I had to go through and I just had to get the win. I had to grade it out, right? Like I literally just watched, it was a Bellator fighter. This happened recently, some Irish Bellator fighter. Forgive me for forgetting her name, but dude, beast performance, right? So this is kind of the eye-opening nature to the casual fan, I guess you could say, of the real grim reality of what fighting is, man. It doesn't matter if you're injured or not. You go in there and compete. You literally sign a contract. You have to fight. So it's like, okay, here's the question. Jacob Malkoun, right? Dominant performance, of course, right? You should, especially when you have a very compromised opponent, but this is either way impressive. If you're him, how do you look at this? How do you take away from what can you take away from this? Did you get a win over him in his true self? No, but you still did get a win over him, right? How do you look at it if you're even Maximov? So yeah, either side.
For the Malkoun side, this is a win on a win on a win, man. I'm the one that caused that injury. You know, that's how I would if I was in the press, that's what I would be saying.
Yeah,
like, he didn't hurt himself. I hurt him, bro. You saw that? I'm the one that did that. That's how it is. A PR pushing it for Jacob Malkoun. That's the way you'd go. So I would take that all as a positive for him. But Maximov, man, this is a rough one because you didn't lose the fight. You got injured, and that's how you lost the fight. This is a very hard one. Not just physically, but mentally as well. Because, in his last fight, he was thinking of that last loss, too. Yeah. You never get over those losses, man. You always remember them. And then now you lose one due to injury and you feeling like you couldn't compete to your fullest potential. That's a very rough mental game to play. I'm interested to see how Maximov bounces back from this one.
Yeah, bro. And this is what he said, too. He was all like, listen, I lost my last fight in a pretty devastating fashion. All I have to do now is go show people what I'm capable of, and then you get hurt. That's the problem. Now you couldn't even show him. So do you look at this and you'd be like, all right, man, listen, I was able to survive 3 rounds. I didn't get finished. And I was injured. What can I do on a real healthy camp, man, where I'm healthy in the fight? And so there's a couple different ways you could look at it. But either way, I feel like we got robbed of a very high-level contest because this would have been a lot more wrestling exchanges and all that. And regarding the injury, it'd be different if you, calf kicked him and he fucked up his ankle or some shit. You gave him the Sugar Show drop foot. But instead, literally just a wrestling exchange and you just zig when you should have zagged and your knee pops and you're fucked, So, all right, brother. What about the Joe Anderson-Brito fight, right? Obviously, you get Lucas Alexander. This dude's like, I want to come in here. I want to, be part of the company, and this is the sacrifice I got to make. All right, cool. The question is, Brito, man, the last time that he got drug into a 3-round fight was against Bill Algeo, right? And he lost that fight because he got gassed out. Why? Because he picks you up and fucking lifts you over his head and slams you on the ground multiple times. And then as soon as you start getting up, he puts a backpack on you and tries to choke you and finish the fight. I love the style. There's something inside of me, man, that just says, like, dude, you start fighting the high level guys, and this style isn't. It might work sometimes, but I also think we might get another harsh reality in the same kind of fold with like Hamzat as well. How he runs through people. You're going to run into a guy where you can't run through him, Gilbert Burns-esque, and you're not going to be able to. I mean, Hamzat's a different story, but for Brito, what do you take away from that win?
Yeah, no, I agree. The big concern is you're not going to have that explosive fight style all the time, whether it's going to be you're aging, your opponents are more athletic. There's all these X's and O's to get into it. But what I did like about the Brito fight, he has learned a little bit of what we're talking about, because in one of the very last takedowns he had on Alexander, he picked him up, put him over his head, was going to slam him, but then set him down very gently. And instead of taking the full explosion and using even more power into it. So at least you got to give him a little bit of that credit right there. He's learning just a little bit enough to not empty the gas tank entirely, but it is very cautious to see how if he fights this way. Even the announcer said it at the end of the fight. I think it was Paul, where he was saying, he's like, however many fights you've had in the UFC now, you're not going to ever fight a different way, are you? And Jonathan Martinez was like, nah, this is how I fight. This is me. It's like, is that going to be a successful thing the entire career? We'll see.
Yeah, well, a big point that he made, he's like, I'm an entertainer. So it's like, if that's the approach that you want to take, man, entertainment doesn't always mean victory, right? But listen, I love it. It's a great performance. I love it. All right, brother. What about the sleepers, man? Your sleeper was a fun one. Piero Rodriguez versus Sam Hughes. Sam Hughes thinks that she should have got the nod. I think Rodriguez did do the right things, man. She was more aggressive, got the takedowns, initiated the wrestling. A little surprising. I thought Sam Hughes would be a little more wrestling intensive, but Rodriguez, man, Fiera, she's beast. What'd you take away from that?
Beast. And as much as we didn't see the finish in this fight, we did see a lot of aggression and a very good women's match, which I liked for this one. Yeah. I'm always sad when the sleepers don't end up putting someone to sleep, but this was a very interesting back and forth match with a lot of aggression. Still had a lot of the drive of what a sleeper is, so I was happy with this one.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It definitely delivered. The one that I won was almost like a fucking layup right there, bro. I said Mike Jackson, Pete Rodriguez. I said, convince somebody at a bar. We walk over. Pete Rodriguez wants to walk forward and knock you out. What did he do? He walked forward, he punched him, and he kneed him in the face and fucking knocked him out. And it was as simple as that. So, like, I think you guys are welcome. Come on, baby, let's go. Like, you're talking about 10 out of 10 sleeper. I might give that one 12 out of 10 right there, baby. Let's go. All right, brother, the last couple ones, and then we'll move on to the rankings. Mana Martinez, man. This is one that was on the main card for like a split second, and then they just dropped it down to the prelims. I'm not mad because even though it was a back-and-forth fight, the most entertainment that came out of it was a beautiful spinning back fist that dropped Brandon Davis, and then the commentary of James Krause. That was the most exciting part of the fight, right? Because Mana Martinez, man, this is the most loose dude you're going to see in the cage. How you get kicked in the nuts and then just smile it off and be like, oh, bro, don't worry about it. As long as you know, we're okay. I'll be like, bro, you just kicked me in the nuts, and okay. I got to get one back, right? But, he's fun. He's loose. Dangerous, approach to take against a veteran like Brandon Davis, bro. I was like, dude, Davis, he's talking shit. He wants to get into your head. He wants to win. You could tell he wanted it bad. Finally healthy Brandon Davis. But Mana Martinez was just a little too much, man. Just a little bit too much. Dropped him in a couple of those spots, man. And just his striking was nice. So give me the takeaway. But then second, tell me the takeaway of James Krause's coaching. Do you think it really lit the fire under Mana to get it together and win the fight? Or do you think that could be destructive to certain fighters?
Oh, it can definitely be destructive to certain fighters. First off, I think big takeaway from this one. This was a nice proving ground that even the middle pack of the UFC is absolute savages and dogs in there, man. This was a crazy fight. This was very back and forth, and you can see why it's a split decision, man. Very good fight. But as far as the James Krause, I think this is what we've come to expect out of Krause, that kind of pointed rhetoric and the coaching he gives you. It is more of a invigorating style in which he tries to draw out that gumption you have. Will it always be a pro? No, not at all. Do I think it's a good way to coach? Yes, for the certain type of fighter and certain type of sport that we're in for this one. But a lot of people can see a lot of negative, and I'm sure there's a lot of either on the Reddits or on the tweets talking about how how that's not the best advice. But what do you think, Derek?
Well, I mean, I think I kind of gave it a loaded question, right? Because I said, will that not work for certain fighters? Of course, it's not going to work for certain fighters, man. It's not for everybody, right? Maybe he's a dude who could take it like that. But when you said, hey, listen, look at me, motherfucker. Like, you're blowing this fucking fight. Like, you need to go over there and you need to, you know, like, some people, they need that. They need that militant approach, man. And maybe he's so easygoing and loose flowing that he needs that drill sergeant on him. Okay, you're right. This is a fist fight. I have a little too much fun in there. You know what I'm saying? But I have to be to the plan, execute the general's plan. And that will lead me to victory. And you can't be mad at James Krause because guess who won? Mano Martinez, right? But if you would kept, messing around in there, maybe he wouldn't have got the job done. I don't know. But I would say this was a very close fight. Once again, looking at the numbers, Mano Martinez, 87 total strikes to 84 for Brandon Davis. A little bit higher for a significant strike differential. But if you look at it, man, takedowns, 1 of 4 for Mano, 1 in 3 for Brandon Davis. Very close fight. Some people really do think Brandon Davis got the job done, but Mano, on paper, he won. I would love to see a rematch of this fight sometime in the future. I'm not going to lie, but I'll leave that for what it is worth. Those are your prelims, folks. Another big win. Tatsuro Taira, I told you, keep an eye on him. Beautiful armbar victory in the second round over CJ Vergara, who did not make weight. So that's almost like instant karma right there. And I actually think that's all the fights right there, brother. So let's move on to these rankings, man. And today, I think we need to jump into that little bit of a discussion we were having earlier, man. We're talking about the 125-pound division. We're talking about the Bullets division, Valentina Shevchenko. And, brother, I actually just want to pull up the UFC rankings here. Because when you have the top of the top, there's really no mixing and matching. There's no need for our personal rankings when you're talking about the top 4 fighters. We know who the top 4 fighters are. But this is the question right here, man. Alexa Grasso, she moves up, we'll see what she moves up on the Tuesday rankings for the UFC site specifically. But if you're looking at it right here, man, what you can see, Katlyn Chikagian is going to fight number 7, and potentially the winner of number 1 versus number 7 can fight number 5. How does this work? Only reason that happens is because Lauren Murphy and Taila Santos are the most recent title challengers for Shevchenko. Thus, they have been relegated to outside of this picture, right? So this is my question, man. Alexa Grasso is almost like in the perfect opportunity right here to like steal a title shot, man, from a Katlyn Chikagian who, while if she does get a couple more wins, man, she deserves it, bro. To be able to really like put on a lengthy, you're almost out of the UFC and you come back and now you're beating everybody. So you're pulling who's homeboy, number 1, who just wouldn't stop, man. Max Holloway. There we go. A Max Holloway-esque performance where you're just saying, fuck that. I'm going to beat everybody in the division, You tell me, what is Alexa Grasso capable of in this women's flyweight division in totality? Let's talk about, we're even talking about 5 years out. Like, what is she capable in this division?
It's hard, man, because how long is Bullet going to stay in the mix? Because that's really the crux of what I'm thinking. How high can Alexa Grasso go, especially against let's say a Chikagian or a long striker like that, or even a Furo, where she's able to not be the long, lengthy one, but she's able to work on the inside and get the ground game going, get her wrestling going. She has those skills as well. Yeah. And then to like someone with, let's say, a Taila Santos, where Alexa Grasso is able to stay precise and calculated and avoid the power that Santos has. She also has those skills, man. It's just, unfortunately, what I think goes down is Alexa Grasso fights like sometimes not to the level of her opponent, and she doesn't fight up or down, but she's so consistent that it's a very even spread of her fighting acumen. Whereas if in order to win the title or to beat the people that we wouldn't give her a shot against, she needs to jump up and go, and have those peaks, have those valleys. Whereas she's a very consistent, great fighter, consistently great, but never to that level of where she's going to jump up and over, if you will. So do I see her being a champion? Yeah. If Bullet is in the mix, even more likely. Now, let's say Bullet is in the mix. There's a lot of those 2 to 4 level fighters that could also be in the title challenging contest. And that's where I think she really does start to have a lot more success, as if the Bullet's gone. But against the Bullet, until we see her go down, what do you think?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I just wanted to ask you this because this is the ultimate question here. Let's just say, hypothetical, real quick. Valentina Shevchenko isn't the champion. She stepped away for whatever reason, right? Who's the champion then?
That's me personally. It's just looking at this top 5, it's really, really difficult. And you might even call me crazy. I think it'd be Lauren Murphy.
You know what? I do think you're crazy because I think there's one name that you're disregarding there that could totally be the champion if the bullet isn't there.
Santos?
Andrade, baby. Come on, man.
Oh, yeah.
Come on, bro. I think Jessica Andrade could totally be the champion in that division. It might be tough against some of these fighters, but like, who's the person that gave her the that brutal kick to the stomach? Who was it? I'll look it up right
kick
now.
To the stomach.
Jessica Andrade. Oh, it was a flyweight. Oh, it was a strawweight. Excuse me. It was Magnum. It was Weili Zhang. It was Weili Zhang. Yeah, man. So nobody else is really putting it on Andrade. If she can go up a little bit, man, and she can really put some punishment on some people, it's gonna be ugly, bro. You look at what she did in her last fight, man. Who did she just knock out? Oh man, apologies, folks, because I don't know why I'm blanking on these names right now. This was it a strawweight fight? Oh yeah, it was Lemos, where she put that standing arm triangle on Lemos. That was nasty. Yeah. All right, folks. Either way, you already know what time it is. Alexa Grasso, she is a mix for that top 4 contention. Can she be a champion? Yeah, she definitely can. With the bullet in the mix, I don't know. But without her, yeah, I don't know. Maybe Andrade might stop her. I mean, we got to see where she factors in. Either way, that's your rankings review. You know what time it is. All right, folks, this was a very informative episode, as always, right? But I already know what you're thinking. You're already thinking, if you're still rocking with us, which we appreciate you, we love you, right? But you're thinking, okay, can you guys stop talking about this? Islam Makhachev versus Charles Oliveira is next week. Why aren't you talking about that? Don't worry. We got you covered, right? We're going to take care of that. Clearly, it's going to be the biggest card of the year, right? So we're going to have to prepare accordingly. But I want to preface, and AJ, I hope you don't get upset with me on this one, man. Even though I will, right? I'll play the game. And I'll put my picks up for every single fight that we're going to do. But 99.99% of me, of everything inside my heart, body, and soul, wants to say, I want to watch this fight happen. These fights, this event, 280. I want to watch it. I don't want to have a vested interest. I don't want to have to break it down. I don't want to have to do any of that. I want to enjoy it as a fan because I think this is the pinnacle of fandom right here, brother. Just sit back and relax. Who gives a shit who wins? Let's just watch a good show. But, you know, we got a job to do, brother. So we got you covered, man. But do you feel me right there? Like, I hate that I have to make a pick for any of these fights.
Oh, 100%. Not only is this the pinnacle of the sport of mixed martial arts, but it's also the storytelling of the UFC, lineages of titles colliding. Technically, there's not even a champion right now. There's all kinds of storylines going on. There's so many moves shaken for 280. I agree with you, Derick. Sometimes you just want to sit back and be a fan, man. Have the nostalgia of being a fan and watching some scraps go down.
Yeah, but you know, they say with great power comes great responsibility, right? So we got you guys. Folks, he just said it. He says there's no champion in the lightweight division, but I'll tell you, my man AJ, I think he believes in Chucky Olive so much. I think that he's going to pick Charles Oliveira to win next week, and here's the reason why. Because in our own personal rankings, right, and we got the champion list, we got our own rankings, right? In the lightweight division, for my rankings and for the UFC rankings, oh, they're vacant. But for AJ's, Charles Oliveira is the champion. I'm just saying. Listen, brother, this is a prelude to next week. If you want to respond, you can. But if we leave it, we're going to leave it, brother. What are you thinking?
Man, I'm a firm believer if you didn't beat the champ, you're not the champ. Charles Oliveira might have lost to the scale, but we can't wrap a belt around the scale. So I'm still saying Charlie Olive is the champ. We'll see, though. I don't know how the fight's going to go down. This is one of those ones where it's kind of almost a stay away because there's so many Olives can get it done. That we'll break it all down with you next week, folks.
You already know. You already know. So, folks, one more time. We're out of here. We're going to talk 280 next week. If you haven't subscribed, you should definitely do that right down below. It's free, right? You already know what time it is. All right, folks, your favorite fighter's favorite fight show, the Bloody Water Podcast. That is it for us. And until next time, folks, peace.